I never thought I'd see someone scream inside an emergency room because her son sprained his ankle while a man in the next room was literally fighting for his life. But that's exactly what happened that afternoon. And that day didn't just change how I saw that woman. It changed the entire neighborhood of Willow Creek Estates. It started on one of those deceptively calm Saturday afternoons. I was sitting in the ER waiting room scrolling through my phone trying not to make eye contact with anyone. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, and you could hear the low hum of nurses calling names, parents whispering to their kids, the steady beeping of machines behind closed curtains. Then she walked in. Hot pink velour tracksuit, gold bangles clinking with every exaggerated movement, designer sunglasses perched on top of perfectly teased blonde hair. Patricia Henderson, or Patty, as she insisted everyone call her. The infamous HOA president of Willow Creek Estates. You know the type, the woman who writes citations if your trash cans stay out too long or if your fence color isn't community approved. She was the self-declared queen of our suburb, and heaven help anyone who questioned her authority. But that day she wasn't holding a clipboard. She was dragging her 16-year-old son Brandon, who looked like he wanted to sink through the floor. He had one sneaker off an ice pack wrapped around his ankle and a look that screamed, "Please don't make a scene, Mom." Of course she made a scene. The second she stepped inside, she bellowed, "My son needs a doctor right now. We've been waiting for 12 minutes already." The receptionist blinked at her. "Ma'am, we'll get to you as soon as possible." But that wasn't good enough for Patty Henderson, ruler of HOA land. Before anyone could say a word, the automatic doors swung open again and paramedics rushed in a gurney. A man covered in blood, his chest barely rising. 28-year-old male, multiple fractures, internal bleeding, one shouted. The room froze. Except Patty. She actually stepped in front of the gurney and snapped, "Excuse me, we were here first. My son's in pain." The paramedic, a woman who looked like she hadn't slept in 2 shifts, said flatly, "Ma'am, this man could die. Please, step aside." And Patty laughed. "Well, maybe if people drove more carefully we wouldn't have these problems," she said loud enough for everyone to hear. "But my son's been waiting too long." The nurse at the desk tried to calm her down. Brandon looked mortified, burying his face in his hands. Meanwhile, I sat there jaw tight, trying to process what I was witnessing. I knew Patty was entitled, but this was another level. She'd fined me once for painting my mailbox the wrong shade of black. But now she was standing in the way of a dying man. I wanted to say something, but my gut twisted. People like Patty always found a way to make you regret standing up to them. 10 minutes later, the nurse called Brandon's name. She checked his vitals, asked him to rate his pain. Like 3, maybe 4, he said sheepishly. The nurse nodded and explained that because it wasn't life-threatening, there would be a wait. That's when Patty's temper exploded. She marched up to the counter and slammed her manicured hands down. "Do you know who I am? I'm the president of the Willow Creek HOA. I know the mayor. I know the hospital board chairman. You'll be hearing from my lawyer if this neglect continues." The nurse, bless her soul, just smiled politely. "Ma'am, we treat patients based on medical priority, not social connections." That's when Patty spotted him. Dr. James Rivera, the ER attending physician. He looked exhausted, still in blood-stained scrubs, probably fresh out of surgery from the man who'd just come in. Patty stormed toward him, heels clicking against the linoleum, grabbed his arm and snapped, "You need to see my son right now. He's been waiting half an hour. This is unacceptable." Dr. Rivera inhaled slowly. You could see him trying to choose kindness over fury. "Ma'am, your son's been triaged and will be seen soon. Right now, I have 3 critical patients, a car crash victim, a heart attack, and a child with anaphylaxis. I promise your son will receive care, but I can't abandon people who might die." Patty's face turned beet red. Life-threatening. My son could have a blood clot. "Do you want that on your conscience?" she screamed. Her bracelets jangled like alarm bells. That's when she pulled out her phone and started recording. "You're refusing to treat a minor. I'm documenting this negligence. You'll lose your license." Her son finally spoke up, voice trembling. "Mom, stop. I'm fine. These people are actually sick." She turned on him, eyes blazing. "You stay out of this, Brandon. Mommy knows what's best." The tension in the room was unbearable. You could feel everyone's disbelief morphing into anger. Even the guards at the door started moving closer. I remember gripping the armrest of my chair so hard my knuckles went white. I wanted to shout to tell her to shut up, but my throat locked. I'd seen what Patty did to people who crossed her letters, fines, threats. I couldn't handle that again, so I just sat there silent, ashamed of my own fear. Then everything shifted. A man walked into the waiting room, older, trembling eyes red from crying. "Excuse me," he said softly to the nurse. "I'm looking for my son, Marcus Thompson. He was in a car accident." My heart broke for him. That must have been the man they'd rushed in earlier. But before the nurse could answer, Patty cut him off. "Excuse me, I was speaking to her first," she snapped. The man turned to her, bewildered. "Ma'am, my son is fighting for his life. I just need to know if he's alive." Patty rolled her eyes. "We all have problems. My son's been waiting 40 minutes with a serious ankle injury." The silence that followed was heavy, like every molecule of air had been sucked out of the room. The man just stared at her, voice shaking. "Your son is sitting there scrolling on his phone. My son's on a ventilator." That was the moment my restraint cracked. I didn't even realize I'd stood up until I heard my own voice. "Enough, Patty. Just enough." My pulse was pounding. For a second she glared at me like she wanted to devour me alive. But then something else happened. Dr. Rivera came back. He walked straight toward the older man, his expression unreadable. "Mr. Thompson," he said gently, "your son made it through surgery. He's stable. It was close, but he's going to live." The man broke down right there, sobbing. Dr. Rivera placed a hand on his shoulder. Then he turned to Patty. His voice was calm, but cold. "That man's son was clinically dead for 90 seconds. We brought him back. That's why your son had to wait, because I was saving a life." The whole room froze. Patty's mouth opened and closed like she'd forgotten how to speak. Her face went pale. For once, she didn't have a single word. Then out of nowhere, a frail woman who'd been clutching her chest stood up. "You should be ashamed of yourself," she said. "These doctors are heroes and you're treating them like servants." Another person chimed in. "Your kid doesn't even look like he's in pain. He's literally scrolling TikTok." Brandon's eyes filled with tears. "Mom, please, let's just go. I don't even need a doctor. I'll ice it at home." But Patty couldn't stop herself. "You're all ganging up on me. You'll regret this." Dr. Rivera's tone turned firm. "Ma'am, your son's been evaluated. If you continue disrupting this ER, I'll have security escort you out and call child services to ensure he receives proper care elsewhere." That did it. Patty grabbed Brandon by the arm, muttering about lawsuits and negligence, and stormed toward the exit. Just before she reached the doors, the older man, Mr. Thompson, called out, "Ma'am." She turned, maybe expecting an apology. He looked her straight in the eye. "I hope you never have to feel what I felt today, because if you did, you'd understand what gratitude means." Patty said nothing. She just left. I thought that was the end of it. But karma has a way of circling back. By Monday morning, everyone in Willow Creek knew. Brandon had told his friends told their parents, and the story spread like wildfire. Patty tried to get ahead of it, posted in the HOA Facebook group about how she was standing up for patient rights. But 3 people in our community had family working at County General. They knew the truth. At the next HOA meeting, Patty showed up like nothing happened, wearing another tracksuit, this time in royal blue. She started talking about medical accountability and bias against families of influence. But halfway through her speech, Dorothy Chen, a retired nurse who'd lived in Willow Creek for years, stood up. "I've stayed quiet long enough," she said. "Patty, what you did was disgusting. You humiliated medical workers during a trauma emergency. You don't represent this community, you embarrass it." The room erupted. People started murmuring, nodding. One man shouted, "Vote her out!" Another woman said, "About time!" And right there on the spot, the board called an emergency vote. 8-1. The only yes in Patty's favor was her own. I'll never forget her face. That same shocked silence she'd worn in the ER, like she couldn't believe the world had finally stopped bending to her will. She left the meeting without another word. A few weeks later, her house went up for sale. She moved away quietly. No farewell post, no goodbye party. Brandon stayed with his dad. And not long after, someone sent me a screenshot of his social media. He'd written, "My mom taught me exactly what kind of person not to be. Grateful for that lesson." Meanwhile, Marcus Thompson, the man from the crash, made a full recovery after months of physical therapy. His father started a fundraiser to buy new equipment for the ER that had saved his son's life. It went viral, raising over 50 grand. The local news even covered it. They never named Patty, but someone in the comments recognized her description and wrote, "That was our HOA president." The thread blew up with hundreds of replies. Dr. Rivera still works at County General. I ran into him once months later when I was visiting a friend. Same calm demeanor, same tired eyes. He smiled when he recognized me and said, "Things have been quieter lately." I bet they have. Sometimes I still think about that day, about how I almost stayed silent, almost let fear stop me from speaking up. But when I saw a father breaking down in gratitude just for getting his son back, I realized something silence protects the wrong people. Patty Henderson lost everything that day, her title, her reputation, her power, her community, and even her family. And all because she couldn't wait her turn. So, if you ever find yourself in a waiting room frustrated and impatient, remember this story. Remember that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing at all, just wait with grace.